All right, for our last presentation for the conference, we are ending on a really good note here. We've got Erik Bustillo speaking next. Erik is a registered dietitian. He's also a certified sport nutritionist with ISSN. You can read the rest of his stuff on the program. He's worked with pro and college athletes. He's worked with CrossFit. He's worked with general population. But what I want to say is the part that's not in here. Erik is all about ISSN. He is probably one of the most enthusiastic individuals I've ever met, one of the nicest individuals I've ever met, incredibly humble. We are thrilled that we're able to have him speak this year with as much as he does for ISSN. He was my personal tour guide in Columbia. Managed to get me a jersey too, thank you again for that, love it. Anyway, I really, for those of you that don't know Erik well, get to know the guy. You will not be sorry you did. He genuinely is one of the best people I know. With that being said, Erik Bustillo.
Thank you, Sean. How's everybody feeling today? I'm not gonna lie, I was about ready to introduce myself. I was gonna say something, go back there, take my shirt off, and then say, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Erik. Hey. Anybody? Thank you, Haley. That was an awesome introduction. I don't know how to follow that, and Vicky's presentation, which was great as well. Thank you, by the way, to Haley, Paige, Paulina, Tori, Veronica. Your help was awesome throughout the weekend. Rick and Anya, you guys are amazing, as you know. Before I even get into this, the 10 pieces of advice that all dietitians and sport nutritionists must know. Something I didn't put in there, at least I don't think I did, and if I did, I forgot. Find yourself awesome mentors and become friends with them, right? Like, I'm fortunate to have individuals like Sean, Joey, Dr. Doug Cowman. I mean, you name it, ISSN has done amazing things for me. So thank you, ISSN. Sean, thank you for having me. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's see this. Okay, cool. First off, if you don't follow me on social media, go ahead and find me now. And you guys can take pictures, tag me, we can have fun with it. And yeah, I post a bunch of things on social media. So if you do follow me up there, give me some love. Thank you. Just a little bit about me. Went to Miami-Dade Community College. Actually, wasn't in community college anymore. Went to FIU and just recently finished my master's with Concordia in Chicago. So thank you. I'm a registered dietitian, like Sean mentioned. I love speaking. Too much energy sometimes. Doer of good. So you see the hashtag up there, MTWABP. Make the world a better place, right? Use it. Let's be about it. I like to focus on habits and creating some sort of permanent changes in quotation marks, because I guess the only thing that I guess stays constantly changing is change, if that makes any sense. But helping people make and create lifestyle changes. Who's an athlete in here? All right, who thinks they're an athlete? So I'm into all these different things: CrossFit, running, soccer, football, volleyball, you name it. I have fun with it. Last thing, ISSN conference next year, June 17th to the 19th, 2021, in St. Petersburg, Florida. Also, shout out to the Society for Neurosports. It's going to be March 26th and 27th, 2021. If you don't know, now you know. Deerfield Beach, thank you. Yes, it's just a little bit south from here. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So some of these statistics are a little bit older, in that they're from like 2016 or so, 2017. But I just wanted to highlight the popularity that is sports nutrition. You'll see that there are 73 physical schools, at least based on where I got this information from. And again, there are going to be more now, most likely, because this is a little bit dated. 73 physical schools, like actual schools that you could walk into, and now I don't know if you can COVID or whatever, but they all had some type of sport nutrition, exercise phys, exercise science program. Sometimes they're kind of lumped into like the School of Nursing and Wellness and all that. You'll see that the 2016 list is actually missing other schools, like USF wasn't on that list. That was something that I noticed. UNC Chapel Hill, Concordia University, and so on. There were a couple of international ones, an online one. You have a bunch of different certs. There are forums, magazines, things that are constantly talking about nutrition and sports nutrition. And in 2017, there were 2,082 published articles on sports nutrition. So just something to have in mind, right, about the popularity of sports nutrition. What do you all think is the most important factor in sports nutrition? I want to hear some opinions. Like, what's the purpose of sports nutrition? What's like the most important thing? Anyone? Make you look prettier. Hey. Performance.
Recovery.
Education. Confidence. Good. What was that?
Coffee.
Yes.
For sure.
Lots of coffee.
Absolutely. You know coffee is very important. And now, the views expressed in this presentation are solely mine, although I do have data from different articles and whatnot. But when we think about sports nutrition, we think bigger, faster, stronger, in some instances leaner, like Jody said, maybe even prettier, right? And then we also tend to think, at least as a dietitian, maybe there are nurses that are involved in sports nutrition, athletic trainers and so on, we think healthier as well, right? Whatever that may mean, whether it's blood markers and all that. But I think essentially what we try to get to is recovery and recuperation, right? Because just like I think Vicky and Cassie said, recovery. Without recovery, how can we perform? How can we do what we're supposed to be doing, right? If we're not recovering, we're done. Right? Maybe? Kind of? Yeah. And also, with sports nutrition, we want to get an edge on our competition. Right? Let's say there's a twin Erik, 6'1", whopping 174 pounds, lean, mean, etc. How can I beat that twin Erik? Right? If I'm not recovering, I'm not going to be able to beat him. But then there are supplements and there are other things that are going to help me get that edge on him. That's why people will also hire sport nutritionists to tweak their nutrition and learn about the proper supplementation and so on. So, in my eyes, I think recovery and recuperation is a very important part of it. I just am throwing that out there, just context. Now we're going to get into the 10 things that dietitians and sport nutritionists should know. I think that it's important that we're not nutra-religious, and not knocking religion in any way, but sometimes we can be fans of our religion. Nutrition, I think it's very important that we know this, it's a science, right? It's not a religion, although religion is based on belief, and again, not knocking religion. But nutrition is a science. So it's based on data and things that we have learned. It doesn't really benefit us as practitioners to be dogmatic, because if I'm going to work with the world's top Ironman, do I really want to put him on a keto diet? Well, maybe, maybe not. Do I want him to fast the entire time that he's performing his Ironman race? Probably not, Just recently I actually had a client, not a client, someone who was going to measure their body comp. And he told me that he PR'd in a half Ironman that he did, and he was completely fasted the entire time. I found that hard to believe, and I guess impressive at the same time. But I can't help but think, what if you would have eaten like a freaking banana when you were on the bike? Maybe you would have PR'd your PR. If that makes sense, right? Because if you were fasting this entire time, we know that you got to fuel yourself. But he was to keto and fasting and so on. As you guys also know, we're not really here to be fitfluencers and put people on like some kind of a waist trainer, whether someone wants body composition or actual performance improvements. We're here to help people do what's best for them, not like reshape their organs. So diet tribes can definitely be something that are dangerous, right? Individuality. There was an excellent point that Tim brought up yesterday, talking about majority of data shows that creatine works most of the time. But if it doesn't work for my N of 1, the person that I'm working with, am I really going to ask them to keep on taking creatine? Probably not. Although we know that there are many other benefits to creatine, brain health, and all that stuff. But if it's not working for this one individual, as important as the science is, right? Because we know that data is very important. We're very evidence-based individuals as we should be, ideally. But we can't ever forget the individual. I know we often hear about anecdotes, right? We all have our own anecdote. We maybe followed a specific program one time that worked for us to gain some muscle mass or some speed or vertical jump, whatever it may have been. Anecdotes aren't research. They're an N of one, right? Maybe it's research to this one individual for specificity of that person. But we can't apply one anecdote to all. And just like that, we also shouldn't apply all data just to one. Because if this person is a non-responder to caffeine, are we really going to keep on telling them to take caffeine? Even though we know that caffeine helps with improving performance, the cognitive aspect of it, increasing pain threshold, and so on and so forth. But if it's not working for them, am I going to keep giving it to them? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
Are you guys still with me? I know it's the end of the day, but stay with me. Please, don't lose me now. I'm trying real hard for you guys. 3, and Dr. Sean Martin actually gave a great talk on the ISSN webinars, like the virtual conferences that we were doing about physique and performance, and then being different things. Like they're not really one and the same. Are you trying to look a certain way or perform a certain way? And yeah, there's some crossover there, but ultimately, we have to understand that the athlete's needs are going to vary. And I'm not here to talk too much about physique stuff. It's not really my thing. But we know that physique is going to focus on an aesthetic. And if you've ever worked with, especially this population, from my personal experience, collegiate athletes tend to have I don't know, a bit of like an obsession with how they look. Right? I think we all care to some extent how we look, but collegiate athletes, and this was me working with a university football program, we were trying to make sure that they were getting enough nutrition, recover so that they can perform at their highest level. But this dude wanted to like, I got this little bit of fat here, like, Eric, what can I do for that? And I'm just like, it's not really what we care about. Like, I want to make sure you're running the fastest 40 that you can. How can we do that? Obviously, strength and conditioning is an important aspect, but what and how much are you eating? Right, to ensure recovery, as much of the muscle mass part. If we can change that body composition, great, but we're not worried about that. So performance nutrition doesn't really focus so much on physique most of the time, I would say. I think it's also for us as dietitians and sport nutritionists to understand energy systems, right? The oxidative energy system and so on and so forth, and what the body's going to use in those instances. If you study for the CISSN exam, you'll know that there's a decent amount of exercise phys in there, because exercise phys and sports nutrition, they go together, right? It's like peanut butter and jelly, or whatever's your thing. Maybe lamb and tuna fish. Has anyone seen that movie? No? Big Daddy? Right? Spaghetti and meatball. Anyway, I'm trying. And athletes need to eat, right? Not diet down or none of that stuff. We gotta make sure they're getting enough nutrition, and I'm gonna go into that as well. This is just a quick chart that I made. I actually kind of like copied it from Dr. Jose Antonio and Dr. Abby Smith-Ryan's textbook that they have on sports nutrition and performance enhancing supplements. But just understanding the basics of energy systems. I am going to have some information on here if you guys want to like take pictures and snap it, even though ISSN members get access to the PowerPoints on the website. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm going to kind of like go through some of those slides so you guys can take the pictures and kind of move right on. If you want to take pictures, if not, it's all good. So needs definitely depend on training, right? Our caloric intake is going to vary based on many things. What's your goal? We should know what our client, patient, whoever it is that we're working with, we should know what their goal is ultimately. Their training duration, how long are they training for? At what intensity are they training, right? Am I gonna fuel the Usain Bolt-esque sprinter the same way that we're gonna fuel the marathon runner? Probably not, right? And then of course the training frequency. How often are they training? This is where nutrient timing definitely becomes important. How many times are you training in a day? Is it once? Is it twice? Is it 3 times? At what time are you training? All of that is going to have an important effect on this, or impact on it. I also think that it's important for us to know that, and now, Sean, I don't know if you came up with this quote, but you were the first person that I ever heard say it, so I quoted you on it. Athletes train and eat, they don't diet and exercise. So just something to think about. Look at, and I don't know if this picture here is accurate, hashtag internet, but this was Michael Phelps' supposed diet, right? 12,000 calorie diet and all these things on there. So I think our concern is my athlete eating enough, as opposed to, do they have a 6-pack? Unless, of course, the 6-pack is for their specific sport, if you consider physique a sport and all of that. Right, so you gotta eat. How much? This is one of those picture slides. It's got there's just a bunch of word vomit on there. But understanding that there are moderate levels and high levels of either intense training, volume, and all that. So you can see on here that some folks might be training for 2 to 3 hours per day and doing that 5 to 6 times per week, right? So what's going to be that definition of high volume? Some people can burn 600 to 1,200 calories in one bout of training. So if you look at the last bullet point, looking at the individuals who do the Tour de France, it's been estimated that they can burn as many as 12,000 calories in a day. Can you imagine burning 12,000 calories in a day? Can you imagine trying to eat 12,000 calories in a day?
No.
It's tough. So this is a cool little breakdown here. And now, a bunch of this information is from ISSN Physician Stand. Mostly the 2018, the one with the updates on nutrition and recommendations and whatnot. But here, there's a nice little breakdown for carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and different amounts to give to the athletes. But you'll see there's moderate amounts and there's high amounts. Obviously, the high amounts are going to be for the people who are training a little bit more at high intensities, and so on. This is one of those. Take a picture if you like. I also highly encourage everyone to read the ISSN Physician Stand, because they are great. Fueling and refueling thoughts for glycogen and performance. So again, this is another one to maybe take a picture of if you like. So before training, having an actual meal, let's say 4 hours beforehand, 30 to 60 minutes before, something light, carbohydrate, protein, not too heavy on the protein, maybe a little more on the carbohydrate. And then you see incorporating things like glucose electrolyte solutions and what to do post-training. We definitely always want to focus on that carbohydrate, protein. Because even though you may not need to eat immediately after you train in that 30-minute anabolic window, in quotation marks or whatever, I mean, why not? Right? To quote Sean again, instead of a window, it's more like a garage door, so to speak, where there's the time to take you throughout the day. But if we know someone has to go from one bout to the next, why wait on getting them their nutrition as soon as we possibly can? Am I right?
Yes.
Woo! Thank you. I've been delivered. And that's a video of some dude who bugs out on the internet. Anyway, number 4. Protein is not bad, it's our friend. I know I don't have to say this here, but to any dietitians that might listen to this at some point or whatever. Unfortunately, dietitians get this bad rap where we don't know what we're doing. And I'm here to say that dietitians do know what they're doing. Some of us just don't. That's just what it is. But that goes with every single profession. I think it's safe to say. The old thinking gets us no results, right? It's kind of like, yeah, too much protein is bad. Has anyone ever asked Dr. Jose Antonio what the definition of too much protein is? Dr. Jose Antonio, what's the definition of how much protein? I mean, do we know?
No, we don't.
No, you see, we don't know how much protein is too much protein in healthy individuals, right? Right. So, if we look at the picture from the JSSN, we know that 1.4 to 2.0 grams per kilogram for building and maintaining muscle mass is good. Generally speaking, I go with that 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram. For active individuals, even for a sedentary person, which, I mean, none of us should be sedentary because that's not good for us, and we're especially seeing that now, hashtag COVID. So it's like maybe not going any lower than 1.4, right? 1.4 grams per kilogram sounds like a nice number, but the RDA of 0.8 grams per kilogram, we have to understand that's literally just to prevent deficiency. Now, let me see your hands. Do you only want to prevent deficiency, or do you want to be optimal? Let's see, only prevent deficiency. Be optimal. You see? Let's be optimal, right? And again, we don't know how much is too much. I have like 3 different points on supplements. They tend to be like a very, it's a little tricky, it could be a rabbit hole as far as supplements are concerned. I don't think that supplements are the most important thing. I also don't think that they're technically necessary, but they're damn helpful, that's for sure. And maybe in some cases, they are necessary. So knowing what is effective versus what is just, you know, they're fluffing me up. Like, does someone really need to take, I don't know, carnitine for fat burning or whatever you're gonna try to sell someone on? I think it's important for us to know if it's safe, and we have to understand that sometimes convenience is great, right? Oftentimes we need to do what's easier, just because our schedule is crazy. There's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes that protein shake is a little bit easier to consume than, all right, let me get my Greek yogurt with my whatever here. I can just down a protein shake and boom, I'm done. And a protein shake is a supplement. Although it's also food, but you know, whatever, it's a supplement. Also, we hear this quite often, and I'm gonna ask you guys, is food first really the best way to go? Yes or no? Who says yes, food first? There's no like right or wrong answer. Yes, food first. Who says no, food first? Nobody said it. Who says, it depends? Depends, right? It's always it depends, right? It's never really black and white. The answer's somewhere in the gray. But we sometimes get caught up in that, oh my God, this person has to eat this food. You gotta eat, you gotta eat, you gotta eat. Hold on. Yeah, food is important, and we want to make sure that we're implementing all the right habits, and we have a good relationship with food, going down all of that stuff. But protein shakes, bro, you know? So also understanding that dietary supplements are regulated. Contrary to popular belief. Now, the FDA doesn't sit there and like monitor every single thing that's going on with supplements, but they are regulated, okay? And supplements, they're supplemental to our nutrition, right? They're not like replacements, they're not instead of, they're just supplements. Like, let me take it supplemental to my nutrition to help out what I'm trying to get to. Right. The next thing we want to know is, do the supplements work, right? Have you guys watched Nacho Libre before? It's a great movie. It's not really a great movie, but it's like, it is a great movie. It's like so dumb, but it's good. Like really good. So the next few slides, if you want to take pictures of them, I'm not really going to get into the details of them. It's just stating if they're effective, if the supplements are effective, and they're for building muscle and for performance. So these are the ones that we know are effective. You see building muscle on the left and performance enhancing on the right. You'll see that H and B has like a question mark there because as of late it's been kind of like, is it really effective for building muscle and this and that? But in some populations, maybe it is. Do we really have to take it? Or we just want to make sure we're getting enough protein? I don't know. That's a slippery slope. So if you want to take a picture, cool, do it. We're changing the slide in 3, 2, 1, go. Limited or mixed evidence, right? Maybe it can work, maybe not. Like the majority of the data is a little bit mixed, but it wouldn't hurt to try taking these supplements, right? Again, for building muscle and for enhancing performance. If you want to take a picture, do it. We're changing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On to the next one. Ineffective for building muscle and enhancing performance from what we've seen, right? Perhaps we don't have to spend money on certain things. You can spend money on a protein shake instead of, I don't know, buying arginine or something. They're not really comparable, but still. Changing in 3, 2, 1, cool. The next point is know if it's been third-party tested, especially when working with athletes. And this is more specific for athletes, not just like, hey, I want to take a multivitamin. I mean, it wouldn't hurt if it has this like stamp of approval, if you will. Oh, it's my little Bitmoji saying, hey, we have the same hair, you have no shirt, I have a shirt on. But you want to know from these different organizations, the Banned Substance Control Group, Informed Choice, the NSF, those are organizations that will test for any kind of like illegal products and supplements, because that's important for your athlete, especially if they are competing in NCAA, or if they're going to get tested for something that can affect their paychecks, right? Now, also something to keep in mind, just because it has these like stamps of approval doesn't necessarily mean they're 100% in the clear, but if something, you know, God forbid, or whoever you believe in forbid, it'll help them out some, right? But there's obviously much more of an investigation that would have to happen there, but I'm not going to talk about that stuff. I'm not a legal consultant. Hydration. This is another one that you might want to take a picture of. Hydration is very, very, very important for our athletes, right? Am I losing you guys yet?
No.
Do I still have your attention? You with me? Cool. If I'm annoying the crap out of you, I'm sorry. So athletes should most absolutely stay hydrated throughout the day to maintain their weight, right? This was another issue that I saw with collegiate athletes, that they just weren't drinking. Like, they weren't drinking water. Maybe they were just drinking a bunch of Gatorade, and even then, it may have not been enough fluid. But these are just some points to consider for hydration, for before your competition, when you wake up, after the competition, and of course, if you can use a scale to weigh yourself and see how much you weighed before and after, that's always going to help as far as knowing how much hydration you want to put back in your body. This is something that I think is important for us to know as dietitians, as sport nutritionists. It's okay to refer to another professional. Like, we don't have to do everything ourselves. I'm not, even though I have my certified personal trainer cert, I have a strength coach cert, I'm really not going to sit there and like come up with a program for someone, because my main jam is nutrition. So I'm going to link up with, you know, someone who actually does that stuff. Cool, do it. We don't have to do every single thing, and I think it's important to recognize that. So kind of like knowing our role, and also taking that multidisciplinary approach is absolutely beneficial, right? And even within the same profession. Because, I mean, from an experience standpoint, I've never worked with like fighters and stuff. But we'd be like, hey Jackie, you want to work with this fighter? Then they hit me up and whatever. I could, right? Shout out Jackie, fight nutritionist, let's go. Also, I think it's important to understand that we're not medical doctors. Like, looking at biomarkers and lab data, even as a dietitian, I could do that, I could look at it, but I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, you know, you gotta get on some like testosterone replacement therapy. No, I mean, hey, your testosterone is low, see your doctor about that. So knowing our role is, and to me, it's a very important point here. And this is 100% most definitely important, to build rapport with whoever it is that we're working with, right? Yeah, they want to know that we're knowledgeable. That's something. Are we approachable? Can they talk with us, right? All of that is a part of the whole rapport building process. We build that trust with our athlete. If we're all doing things the right way, they get their results, and guess what? Then they start referring to other people, and they're actually seeing results, and next thing you know, your athlete's winning the Olympic gold medal or something. Cool, awesome. But we have to build rapport, most definitely. A couple of important mentions. Gut health is on the rise, right? This is a very new field. I mean, in reality, when it comes to gut health, just make sure you're exercising regularly and eating enough fiber for now. And obviously, we're going to learn more as time passes. I think it's also important to keep this in mind that there's life after sport, right? I mean, we might always be an athlete, like once an athlete, always an athlete kind of thing. We might think like that, but when we're working with somebody, we got to know like where they're at in their career, and is this person about to retire? Did they just retire? Like, what kind of changes can we implement to help them out with transitioning to a regular lifestyle? Lastly, I think that it's important to participate as a test subject in a study if you've never done it before, because then you can see how science is kind of done or conducted, if you will, And I've been blessed to be a lab rat and a study with Dr. Doug Count and Dr. Jose Antonio. And it's cool. It's an interesting process. But I think that that's important for us to see how studies function. Because for whatever reason, people have forgotten how the scientific method works, and everyone now is a statistician, an epidemiologist, an expert in politics, nutrition, fitness, and so on. And everyone needs to calm down. Make it work better. So this is just a quick summary, and thank you. You're awesome. Hit me up on social media. That's my email. Are there any questions? Yes, I see one in the back.
I think it was the first slide.
The first slide of what? I guess just tell me when to stop.
It was like the very first one I did.
Oh, bioenergetics?
That one.
This?
Yeah.
And get a picture of that? Any other questions, comments, concerns, requests? Anything? I can beatbox it if you go. No, nothing? Well, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, so that is ISSN 2020 as a wrap. Holding on. Next year we are back in St. Petersburg, as Erik said. What are the dates? June what?
17th to 19th.
June 17th to the 19th, barring locusts. All right, so we don't know which plague is coming this year. Anyway, on behalf of ISSN, it's been a pleasure for me as president. This is my last conference as president. Thank you guys for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next year.